welcome back to Truck Tech, everyone. Great to see you all. I don't really see you, but I kind of see you. Anyway, we're going to skip the headlines portion of the show today. We're going to go right to our special guest, Chris Urmson. Chris is the OG, if you will, of the autonomous vehicle space. I've never met Chris. This is going to be a first for us. But, he is the co-founder and CEO of Aurora Innovation. That's just his latest act. He goes all the way back to the early 2000s in autonomous vehicles. He led teams out of Carnegie Mellon in the defense research. How do we say this exactly? DARPA is the acronym for competitions in autonomous vehicles back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. From there, he did earn a PhD at Carnegie Mellon in robotics. He went on to be an early player at the Google self-driving program, which is now known as Waymo. And as I said, in 2017, he co-founded Aurora Innovation. Chris's background is special, really. It's why I'm foregoing headlines for him. But Chris, I want to welcome you to the show. We've never met, but what a great way to get started.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on. It's a privilege to be here to chat with you and talk with your audience.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we've got, so much to get to, we get X number of minutes, but, I think before we go too far, I really want your perspective, but I want to ask you first, give you a chance to maybe provide a little color on some recent announcements that Aurora has made. We cover you, and a lot of this has been covered on our website, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk to the audience a little bit about some of the milestones you've hit and, just go into a little background for us.
Yeah, so, we're at this really exciting point with automated vehicles that, I've had the privilege of working on this space for 20 years-ish at this point, and we're on the cusp of seeing it realized out in the world, doing useful things for people, increasing safety, increasing accessibility, increasing the ability to efficiently move freight through the world. And so at Aurora, as you mentioned, we founded the company in 2017. We've been building the base technology since then. About a year ago, we released our roadmap that said we were going to shoot to be feature complete at the end of the first quarter of this year, and then have the Aurora Driver ready at the end of this year. And we're really excited to say that the system is feature complete. That means it can do everything we need it to do to operate on the road. We haven't yet finished validating it, and in some cases, we haven't yet made it as performant as it needs to be to have confidence that out there without people on board.
So, but you also recently announced, and the viewers can see it right now, you recently announced a pretty well completed terminal for autonomous vehicles. Can you walk through that just a little bit for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the video you're seeing here is our terminal just south of Dallas. And as the company is building automated vehicles, self-driving trucks, the terminals for them are going to be a little different than they are for people-operated trucks. And so we're working with our partners to understand what does that terminal need to do? How do we handle the handoff between a person driving a truck in and dropping a trailer off and then hooking that up and pulling it out, making sure that we have compliance with all the bill of ladings and all of the bureaucratic part of the business, but also make sure that we can check the sensors to ensure they're calibrated, run all the tests we need to, and make sure we can launch the vehicle safely and efficiently on the road for our customers.
Yeah, Kendra Phillips talked us through some of that a week or so ago for a story that we wrote when you announced this. And I think it's fascinating, and I'll just throw it out there. Maybe you can comment on it because Kendra obviously comes out of Ryder, which is your maintenance partner, and she joined you as your, I guess, well, she was CTO at Ryder, and I'm not exactly sure what her title is with you. I also had a chance to talk recently with Dave Madej, who's a former colleague of mine at General Motors, another pretty good hire. I mean, we knew Dave to be, pretty important in the grand scheme of things. You've done some interesting recruiting. You want to give me a quick line on that? I mean, you've picked up some,
Yeah, we've picked up some amazing A players, and the two of them there that you mentioned are high on that list. I think what's exciting as Aurora, we are a company that is on a mission, and that's to deliver the benefits of self-driving technology safely, quickly, and broadly. And the importance of this is broad. As you know, anything you buy at your house at some point was almost certainly on a truck. And so helping that industry be more efficient, helping it be safer, is a big deal, and that gets people excited. And whether it's Kendra or Dave or Yanbing, who leads our software, or Chandor, who leads our hardware, right? These are incredible people who I have a privilege to work with every day.
You let one get away though, and you know who I'm going to talk about. Your first graduate student is a competitor now, and Don Burnett.
Don Burnett. Yeah.
Don told me that story at dinner that he was your first grad student, then you left. But anyway, I mean, so friendly competition, I hope.
Yeah, we Don came and joined me at Google, and we worked together there. And he's been building Kodiak, and we're excited to see what they're able to do.
Right. Well, we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about you. From your perspective, though, Chris, as sort of an OG, if you will, in the autonomous space, has this industry developed as you expected? I mean, obviously, commercial applications have come to the fore now and led you to simultaneously pursue, at least for a while, the passenger and the commercial applications. Now you're leaning into trucking. Take me through that a little bit. How about the development of this business?
Yeah, so I've had the privilege of having the long arc of seeing this. And when I first started working in the space, honestly, it was because I thought it was cool. The idea that we could have a vehicle drive across a desert at 50 miles an hour and not bump into things, that just sounded exciting. And then I started to learn about the mission with the Defense Department of how we could keep our young men and women out of harm's way. And that was compelling. And then as I started to work on passenger vehicles, the ability to give people the freedom to move around that many of us take for granted, the ability to reduce the fatalities on a roadway, the fact that 40,000 Americans die every year on our roads, it's just unacceptable. And we have technology that can help address that. And then as I started to really understand the business of this and the opportunity to kind of follow an entrepreneurial path to see this realized in the world, it became clear that trucking was the right first place, that the impact to society is even bigger. The economics are more clear and valuable. There's less emotion involved in the decision-making, right? That this is really about how do we get goods to people safely and efficiently. And the technology we're building will help our customers improve both their bottom and the top line of their business. So we're really excited about that.
Well, I'm glad you said business because it makes a nice segue to the next sort of section that I want to talk to you about. You had about Aurora had about $1.1 billion in cash at the end of the year, which separates you from a lot of your competitors. You've indicated that another capital raise will be needed before you get to commercialization at the end of 2024. I guess I want to ask you a little bit about that because it's pretty tough out there. As you well know, your competitors have pulled a number of levers. There's been at-the-market offerings. There's been, direct share sales. There's been, equity lines of credit and more than that. Yeah. What method seems to make the most sense to you as you look forward now?
Yeah, so for us, we have an incredibly strong balance sheet, as you point out, and that's put us in a position to control our own destiny. Over the course of this year, we see the team building momentum. We see our partnerships only strengthening. We see the technology advancing and the product coming into its own over the course of this year. And so we'll look at the opportunities to deepen our balance sheet as they come along. I don't, there's a variety of different techniques. I'm certainly not a banker, but we'll investigate across them and see what makes the most sense for our shareholders today and for the delivering on the mission over time.
Sure. You did game out a lot of approaches to what you might do a little more than a year ago. Does remaining independent stay at the top of that list?
It does. Right, as we think about the benefit of being independent, it's profound. And it really comes down to this: that Aurora has a mission, right? Is to see this technology out in the world and deliver the benefits of it. If we were part of some other company, that company has some other mission, whether it's a tech giant or an automotive company. That's not the core of what they're about. And at some point, the leadership in that company is going to make very rational decisions, and that may result in picking the core company's mission over whatever it is that we're about. And so our intent is to remain independent because we see this technology as being so important, and for our shareholders, we see an incredible economic opportunity to create value for them. So we'll keep charging along independently.
Yeah, you didn't mention Waymo. I will, but that seems to be maybe a little bit of what Waymo V is caught up in right now. Is that the mission of the company, is sort of more important maybe than the mission of the other bet, if you will. I think that's the term they use.
Yeah, and I obviously don't know what's happening internally there, but I look at, say, the Argo Ford VW situation, right? And Argo, amazing people there. They were building some interesting technology, but at the end of the day, Ford made a decision that they had to focus somewhere else. And I think their CEO said, literally, we're going to place our bets somewhere else. And that's sad because there were people put their heart into this, their heart and soul into it, and their hard work. But it's not unrational. And so being independent, allowing the team to know what we're really about, and knowing that we're going to be there to deliver this mission, I think matters a lot.
I'm gonna get to the consolidation question in a little bit. I just come more in the finance space, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And one is, of course, controlling cash burn. I mean, that's super important for
Yep.
any startup, and it's one. I mean, a year or so ago, I think you had to take some goodwill off the book because the stock didn't do what
Yep.
it was supposed to do, and that sort of thing. But I wonder now, I mean, there's lots of good talent available out there. We'll get to that in a moment that, presumably you could hire. Do you have you had to make any layoffs or do you anticipate any to sort of help with the cash position?
Again, we feel like our cash position, we're in an incredibly strong place. What we have done over the course of the last year and a half is really look at how can we be incrementally more efficient, and we've made some big strategic decisions. So, in a financial environment like we had in 21 or 20 or 5 years before that, we'd probably be working in parallel both on trucking and passenger vehicles. And because of the more constrained financial environment, we have made the decision to put an emphasis on trucking. We continue to work with Toyota. We continue to work with Uber and make good progress with them. But we've been clear with both those partners that their product is going to draft off the back of the trucking product. And they understand why that makes sense, and they're fully supportive of it. And so that's one strategic decision. We've also worked on the culture of the company, right? I think we were relatively efficient beforehand, but we've really tried to bring, that sense of ownership, that sense of, every little bit matters to the forefront. And so, for example, at our all hands every 2 weeks, we have a section which we call Every Little Bit Matters, where our CFO gets up and highlights places where our employees have been able to either avoid cost or reduce the cost in work that we're doing. And, helping set that bit will strengthen the company for the long term because, those practices, that thought and care about serving our customers and doing that economically efficiently, will be an incredible strength for us in the long term.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting the buy-in of your people, in that way and celebrating, I guess, small wins is pretty
Yeah.
important. The
Some of them are
last
even big
question
wins.
now. I'm sorry.
I said some of them are even big wins.
There you go.
We have
Good.
creative people.
Good.
Yeah.
Last finance question, and I promise this is it. You can't control your stock price. All the stock prices of transportation startups are, hurting, yours included. What do you see there? I mean, you do have the balance sheet to support, and your market cap is above your cash and things like that. So, is it just one of those things you have to endure?
It is, right? And I think that right now we're dealing with a set of macro trends, right? We're dealing with increasing interest rates, which means that longer term bets have to exceed a higher hurdle to be considered valuable, right? And that's just the way it is. I think that there was an exuberance that was in the market in 21 that allowed a lot of entities to kind of take advantage of that. And I think it's now the market has kind of come back to a place of a little more rationality, and they're having a hard time figuring out what's real and what's not. And so, as a company, our focus is execute, deliver, do what we've said, and which is what we've done for the last year. If you look at our roadmap and what our history of execution. And I have every confidence that over the long term, the market is rational, right? Over the near term, you can see it fluctuate on whims, but true value endures, and that's what we're building here.
Right. Well, you've got certainly a position now, and again, not just because of your cash, but you've got some wins on the books. You are doing what you said you do. That's all accurate, I'm sure, because as we cover you, and we do cover you pretty extensively, we've tracked the
Appreciate
progress that you make. Let's talk for just a minute, and we don't spend a lot of time on this, but let's talk for a minute about consolidation in the industry. You said some things are more real than others. We've certainly seen sort of a difficult situation in Embark, a software developer, smart guys, obviously, over there
that.
in Alex and in Brandon. But you've also, we talked briefly about Waymo Via. We know Too Simple still has money like you do. We also know that they've got some retrenchment underway, from layoffs and things like that. Give me your sense of how this industry sort of consolidates and what it looks like. Let's just say 5 years from now.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this. I've been talking about this since we founded the company, that consolidation was going to happen. And you see it not just in this space, but any new technology, whether it was the automobile, where there were dozens, if not hundreds of car companies, and then over time it whittled down to 3 in the US, whether it was search engines, where, there was, again, dozens of them, and now there's kind of 1 and a bit, to, what we're seeing happen in this space. And there's a lot of smart people, because this is an important problem. It's an exciting problem, that got into it. And some didn't really understand the complexity of what they were getting into. Some didn't build the right partnerships. Some didn't make the right long-term strategic decisions. And so we're seeing that wash out. And I've said for a long time, we've been really positioning Aurora to be one of the consolidators, not one of the consolidatees. And we've been able to play that role so far. And my expectation is we're going to continue to see it. And that this is a really hard problem. You need to have an amazing set of people. You have to build incredible technology. You have to make the right strategic bets. And then you have to build amazing partnerships. And the work we do, whether it's with PACCAR or Volvo or with our customer partners at FedEx and Werner Schneider, et cetera, right? We feel incredibly fortunate to be in the position we are, and look forward to being here for a long time and serving these customers well.
You raised the spectrum of consolidation in a little different way than I thought, and I'm thinking about FirstLight Radar, LiDAR, excuse me, which comes out of Blackmore, an acquisition that you made a few years ago. And so you're sort of your own solution provider, if you will, in that space. Which we just last week had Angus Pakala on from Ouster, and another consolidation underway. In a business that probably has way too many players. But it's interesting that you did that. Do you see other consolidation opportunities as we look forward now? Not just hiring, people, talented people, but do you see other opportunities for Aurora that maybe haven't been identified yet?
Yeah. So if you look at our history, we've really thought about where can we be strategic in doing this. And so you mentioned Blackmore, and that was really about understanding there was a technology there that we didn't think anyone else had, that was going to be critical delivering a trucking product that you have to see a long way down the road. You have to see that with multiple sensors. And we think the frequency modulated continuous wave LiDAR that we have as part of our FirstLight is completely differentiated. And so we made that acquisition. We made another acquisition of a company called Ours in the same kind of space, where they do integrated photonics. So taking the discrete components that make up an optical system and putting them on a chip, making it dramatically more reliable, making it dramatically lower cost, dramatically more manufacturable. We acquired Uber's self-driving car business, ATG, and with that, we got amazing technology. We got great people. We got a strong partnership with Uber out of it, and Uber Freight. And so as we look forward, right now, there's not a piece that's missing, right? We actually feel like we're in an incredibly strong position there. But we'll continue to look and assess. We have a small team that's their job, is to understand what technology is out there. Is there something that would augment, accelerate our mission? And if that's the case, we'll find those opportunities and take them.
Sure. You use the term driver as a service, and it's a term, as a service gets thrown around a lot. I mean, we're a software as a service business at our core, and then the editorial side, is there too. But, I think when we talk about driver as a service, right now you're running your own trucks that you own with safety drivers. By the end of 24, the drivers go away. The Aurora driver essentially takes over and is operated by, other things. Help me understand how we get to the point where you're not accumulating assets, trucks, to do this, and maybe walk us through that, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really comes from what I think is a pretty intuitive place, that if you are a carrier today, a trucking company today, you buy trucks and pay for drivers. Right. And you understand how to run the logistics part, all of the infrastructure around it. You've got the customer relationships. You've been doing that for a while. You've almost certainly been successful. So what we'd like to do is come in and help you with that business and provide a safe, reliable, scalable set of drivers where where your variable cost is much more predictable, and allow you to grow that business. And have that vehicle, the Aurora driver, operate alongside human drivers that are part of your fleet. And so we see that path. As you point out, today we own and operate trucks. We have no intention of becoming a carrier. We're technically one because we do haul loads for people, but we haul loads under the flag of our partners, right? We're hauling loads for FedEx, for Werner, for Schneider. We don't want to end up in this weird place where we're both developing a product for them and competing with them. That just feels like a fundamental faux pas in building partnerships and relationships.
Yeah. So as you get to the point where PACCAR and Volvo get further along in the development of chassis, which is, the redundant chassis is sort of the golden ticket here, right? I mean, once that happens, then, we don't need to be cobbling together anything. I don't know if that's the correct term, but we don't need to be looking to, add a technology here and there. The manufacturer will do that. Will people then, as they order these trucks, if I understand you correctly, they'll order the trucks with the Aurora driver, robot, if you will, yeah, and basically integrate these with their other trucks. No safety drivers, probably restricted to certain lanes. Certainly initially, you said I-45, yeah, I think, and also I'm not sure they're out to El Paso, but you got that
I-20,
in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you've got those. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were at the question. I'll let you finish up.
No, I'm getting to it. I think. I hope I am. I don't know. But as this happens, you don't need to do anything other than, I presume, provide the Aurora driver to the factories of these partners. Is that the idea? Rather than any upfitting like you might be doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. So today you're right. We don't so much cobble, but we do upfit. And so we work with both PACCAR and Volvo. We work with the Peterbilt 579 and we work with our Volvo truck. And we get those, and we have a facility in Pittsburgh where we, add the Aurora driver to them. We're also working with both those partners, as you point out, to develop trucks that are autonomy ready, where they have the appropriate redundancies, they have the power systems, they have the interfaces, the cybersecurity work that we want to do with them in place, so that then the Aurora driver can interface to that and we can have a fully safe and redundant system on the road. I expect early with those autonomy-ready trucks, we'll continue to do some upfitting, but we're already, again, working with those partners on line-siding the Aurora driver, so that if you're FedEx, you'll be able to call up PACCAR or say, I want the Peterbilt 579, I'd like it delivered with the Aurora driver on it, and then it'll show up, and as you say, you'll be able to put it into your fleet. And you're right, there will be certainly initially some limitations on where it can operate, but over time, we'll expand that, and then that vehicle will be useful very broadly to them.
We're seeing some of the semiconductor shortages work themselves out of the supply chain disruption now. We're starting to see trucks being built in much more regular. You're actually working at the backlog, and things like that. Are you able at this point to sort of say when you think you might be able to have purpose-built trucks to carry the Aurora driver?
So we're working as Aurora. We're hoping to be able to do that in the end of 24. I'll let our partners speak to their schedules as they're comfortable. But that's what we're shooting towards.
Okay. All right. We're just about out of time. Right after this show, there's going to be a hearing will start in California on the whole issue around banning autonomous trucking in California. It's gotten a lot of attention. Very quickly, we've got, call it 30 seconds left. Give me your take on how that gets resolved, Chris.
Yeah, I think that first it's important to know that in California, the law says that that the DMV should put in place rules to allow automated trucking. And so there's new conversations that are happening around it. We've been working with California at the state level, at the DMV level, to help them understand the opportunities. I think ultimately it'd be a tremendous shame if California doesn't allow this important, life-saving, economically beneficial technology on the roads. And so, my expectation is that the government will do the right thing here.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. It was great. I look forward to this. We promoted the heck out of it, really. Great to have you, Chris. Thank you so much. Next week, folks, we will have two guests. We'll have Thomas Healy from Hyliion Holdings, who's working on the hybrid ERX Hypertruck, and we'll also have Parker Meeks from Hyzon Motors working on fuel cells. The two of them have a program together. It's a pilot, but we'll get to talk to both of them about that next week. We look forward to having you with us. You can always catch this on podcast if you missed it today, and we'll see you next time.